William Howe, William Howe.
Hello.
I'm so excited to ask you 13 questions with Vogue.
Me too.
Okay, so how would you describe your time in Long Island this August?
A major British victory.
And describe your time at Fort Washington.
Well, you know what they say about the Big Apple. But, yeah, it wasn't great at first. Eventually a British victory, but casualties-wise, we lost way more than the Americans.
And can you explain how you felt during the beginning of the battle?
Sure. So, Fort Washington wrought havoc on the British warships, attempting to sail up the Hudson River, which was stressful, lives lost, but that's war.
Understood. And then it got worse?
Well, not so much worse, more rough.
What happened?
I launched a three-pronged assault on Fort Washington and its outer defensive works. We outnumbered the Americans greatly. The combined British Hessian assault force of 8,000 men versus the fort's 3,000 defenders. But we lost many lives to the Americans nonetheless.
Wow, truly horrible. So the Americans were successful?
Yes, they were, until 3,000 men under British General Hugh Percy went through outer defensive lines to the south. Simultaneously, General Charles Lord Cornwallis overwhelmed the fort's eastern defenses, sending the Continentals scrambling backwards.
Wow, another British victory. So throughout these battles, how did you feel about George Washington?
Well, during the battles, I thought, this guy has no chance of winning any battles.
And how do you feel about him lately?
Well, my inability to capture him or completely destroy the Continental Army as a fighting force ultimately led to France's entry into the war and Britain's ultimate defeat. So I didn't think he was great.
Understood. Could you describe your childhood?
Sure. I was born in 1729 in high British society. My whole family was talented and experienced soldiers.
How did they feel when you were one of the causes of the British failure?
Not great.
Is it true that after your failure to capture Washington, you almost never got any fighting action again?
Unfortunately, yes. Although I briefly participated in the later French Revolutionary Wars.
Sounds awful. So can you describe exactly what happened at the end of the Battle of Fort Washington?
American General McGaw surrendered Fort Washington and its 2,800 surviving defenders to the British. We got control of Manhattan Island, and George Washington and his troops were forced into New Jersey.
This sounds great for the British. So sorry it didn't end well.
No worries.
Okay, last question. If you could go back to this battle, what would you have done differently?
I would have changed my strategy earlier on in the battle.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for your time, Howe.
Of course.
Your fans are gonna love this.
And I love them.